Hey friends, you got Renee here at Mold Mending. So as you can tell, leaves are changing. And at the time that I'm recording this, it's about a month and a half to Thanksgiving, the holiday here in the United States that we celebrate. And we have typically a big meal, go into somebody's home that's hosting it, and we just have a joyful time. Well, for those of us with mold illness, we have to plan ahead. And that is why I'm chatting with you here to give you a heads up to start thinking ahead about Thanksgiving and where could you spend it, who could you spend it with, and how can you spend it. So it might be good to start investigating who may be hosting Thanksgiving from your family or friends this year. And if it's a home that is water damaged or has previous water damage, you will have to figure out how to bow out of that event and do an alternative Thanksgiving with yourself or maybe some others. Another idea is, if it's a possibility, you could perhaps host the event at your home and maybe do it as a potluck. And an idea that friends do for me, knowing that I don't have the energy to be making meals for people, not often anyway, is that when friends come to visit, they bring their own meals. And then I just have to fend for myself, worry about myself while they bring food that my husband and themselves can eat. And then I don't have to worry about cooking. I just make sure there's a clean table for us to sit at. I just want to encourage you that if it's something that you cannot host yourself and someone who is hosting it, you cannot enter the home of, please begin thinking about how you're going to respond, how you will say your no to protect yourself so that you do not get mold hits, meaning poison from the toxins that are in the air from the water damage that their home has had, and that makes the mycotoxins, which then causes the poison, which then affects you. Yeah, all that great stuff. I just wanted to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you might want to think of starting to think through those things, okay? And how will you handle that? The other thing is thinking about your food. You know, a lot of times Thanksgiving can be discouraging for those of us with mold illness, those of us with a chronic illness, with limited food that we're allowed to eat. So we don't enjoy it as much as everyone else, because in our past, you know, feasting with everyone was fun, but then afterwards we were so sick. Well, now that I've had this diagnosis of mold illness, I now know why I was so sick after Thanksgiving, because I was eating things that my body was not tolerating, that my body was not digesting. They're high sugars, affecting the candida, which is a co-infection to the mold illness. So much goes on in our bodies, those of us who have a chronic illness, that we can't just enjoy it, eat it, enjoy it, and move on. We might enjoy it with the flavor and eat it, but within an hour or shortly after, we're paying with pain. So I want to be the person that taps you on the shoulder as well to think ahead of how can you celebrate Thanksgiving, but celebrate with food you can eat. What's a tasty meat that you can have, and maybe some spices that you can add to it? Can you start introducing a spice so that in a month and a half you'll be able to use that as a special dish or on a special dish for yourself? Is there a vegetable that you could introduce between now and then be able to cook it a special way with certain spices and enjoy it for Thanksgiving, and setting that aside just for Thanksgiving? And even like a dessert, like for me, there were only 3 berries that I could have, and then when I was able to introduce apples, somebody at a Thanksgiving feast knew I was, you know, very limited, and they decided to just bake an apple for me and sprinkle some cinnamon on it at the time. And to me, that was so generous and so kind to think of me and my limitations, but it was also a delight to finally get to participate, as well as have something that I would call a dessert that I could indulge in and not have a reaction to. So I'm just here to encourage you and be that tap on your shoulder. It's coming around the corner, so start thinking of it now. What's that meal? What's that special dessert? Where's that place you can go that is mold-free, water damage-free? What's an alternative gathering that you can do? Start thinking of those things, especially for your Thanksgiving. So your Thanksgiving, you can feel thankful instead of feeling regretful because of your limits. So choose to be well, choose to be joyful, choose to plan ahead so you can have some enjoyment. Just my encouragement of the day. Remember, we can be well even while ill, and happy Thanksgiving early as you're planning.